You want to go? Okay. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. I call the meeting to order and approve the agenda, please.
Be it hereby resolved that the agenda for the September 3rd regular meeting of council be adopted as printed and circulated.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Not seeing any. And minutes for August 6th.
Be it hereby resolved that the minutes of the August 6th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as printed and circulated.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Barnes. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Any business arising for the minutes? See any? No public meetings, no delegations. Correspondence, general. Anybody have any comments on any of it? No? Okay. Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that the general correspondence items be received as information.
Okay, can I move in a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, and staff reports. And I'm going to probably butcher this name, but I'm going to try. Hannah-Laura Yager?
Hannah, just Hannah for short is great.
Hannah, okay. Policy planner from Oxford County, if you want to come ahead. I knew I wouldn't do it very good.
It's okay. You're not the first, you won't be the last.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mic is on?
Yep.
Okay. So, good evening, Mayor and members of council. So we've covered, my name is Hannah Yeager, and I'm a new member to Oxford County's policy planning team, and I'm joined today by Megan House, who's the co-lead of this project, and as you may remember, also led the previous updates to the official plan and the zoning bylaw for ARUs. So today I'll share some results of a preliminary review that we conducted exploring how ARUs, or additional residential dwelling units, have been implemented in the rural townships. Next slide, please. So for some background, in early 2023, the official plan was amended to add policies regarding ARUs in the rural townships that conformed to provincial legislative changes in 2019 and 2022. The Township of Blandford-Blenheim zoning bylaw came into force and effect on July 5th, 2023. Township Council also passed a motion that planning staff report back once the amended bylaw provisions had been in effect for at least 6 months to identify any implementation issues and report on the number and nature of minor variances submitted to facilitate ARUs, which is part of this exercise today. Subsequently, Bill 185 was passed in 2024, which further limited municipalities' abilities to regulate aspects of ARUs in fully serviced settlement areas. And I'll explain how changes to lot coverage and minimum lot area affects the project later. With regard to the project goal, we want to continue to support the development of ARUs that are locally appropriate and are consistent with policy requirements. To achieve that, we want to ensure that zoning provisions and decisions conform to provincial policy and the county's official plan. Additionally, we want to improve the clarity of the zoning bylaw so staff who use it day-to-day find implementation more effective, and so potential applicants find it easier to understand. Next slide, please. We reviewed a data set of planning applications between the date the official plan policies were in effect and November 6th of 2024 for a total of 51 applications. So the information provided today summarizes the results of all of the rural municipalities combined. And these results highlight some county-wide trends that have implications from a policy perspective, which we are presenting to all councils for their consideration. As an overview, we found most applications are occurring in the A1 and A2 zones. Almost all of these applications are for ARUs located in detached accessory structures. And of those applications, about 1/5 only needed approval to permit the use. So that means applications typically require relief from additional provisions in the zoning bylaw. We also want to understand which specific zoning bylaw requirements are most likely to require a planning application. And what we found is maximum distance from the principal dwelling unit, maximum gross floor area for the ARU, and maximum lot coverage for accessory structures are the most frequently requested items of relief. What this result suggests is that applicants are motivated to build larger detached ARUs located further from the principal dwelling, and perhaps even outside of the established residential area in the agricultural reserve. We also wanted to understand how often planning report recommendation matched applications' outcomes, and in the cases where they did not match, explore why that was. And this can reveal whether decision makers have a good understanding of the planning policies and the rationale behind them, or may highlight where certain values, like the provision of housing, may be prioritized over other planning goals. So most frequently, a planning report recommends approval, and a council decides to approve the application, and this occurs about 3/4 of the time. However, we also found that for most of the remaining cases, when a planning report recommends refusal, it almost never had a matching decision. Next slide, please. So why does this occur? We found that the size of a proposed ARU is the most common reason that planning report refusals aren't reflected in a council decision. So to specify, maximum lot coverage for accessory structures and maximum gross floor area for ARUs happen more frequently and required larger amounts of relief compared to when planning reports recommended approval. Additionally, the research showed that certain land use, safety, and compatibility requirements are not being maintained by council decisions. So to provide some examples, proposals to permit a detached ARU in addition to a garden suite on the same lot, provide relief from MDS1, or establish an ARU in a floodplain were approved or deferred. And overall, these findings would suggest that controlling an ARU size or meeting certain safety and compatibility requirements may not be well understood, or, as noted earlier, other planning goals may be prioritized. With regard to other trends, we also considered the prevalence and potential impact of when an applicant converts an existing principal dwelling unit to an ARU and chooses to construct a new principal dwelling. So for simplicity, I'll refer to this as a swap. We found that almost 40% of all applications involve a swap, and most of these applications are occurring outside of settlements in the agricultural reserve. The report discusses in greater detail potential motivations for why this may be occurring, but the important thing to understand is whether this phenomenon has an impact. And we found it does. So analysis determined that when an application is involved in a swap, they are more likely to request relief for both maximum gross floor area and distance from the principal dwelling compared to applications not involved in a swap. On average, swaps require greater amounts of relief for distance from the principal dwelling. And on average, when a swap occurs, more land is used for dwelling space overall compared to when a swap does not occur. While there's no inherent problem with swapping dwelling types, decisions should consider whether they meet the intent of policy criteria for the agricultural area, including size and locational requirements. And the review considered both local and provincial policy criteria. Next slide, please. Thanks. So official plan policies were designed to meet local priorities and reflect provincial policy goals, and as a result, significantly informed the updated policies to the 2024 PPS. The county official plan policies continue to be consistent with these provincial requirements and don't require any amendments. The new policies in the PPS reinforce the importance of maintaining the intent of these local priorities, particularly locational and size criteria for ARUs in prime agricultural areas, as it reflects this broader provincial direction. It's also important to understand that other accessory housing forms, like on-farm residences for farm labor, are still permitted, subject to qualifying official plan criteria. ARUs are intended to provide an affordable housing option with added flexibility for certain policies, however not intended to be second single detached dwellings. Therefore, ensuring an ARU is secondary and subordinate to the principal dwelling has beneficial impacts for the agricultural reserve. When development is compact and efficient, it ensures farmland is not removed unnecessarily and secures it for current or future agricultural uses. As we all understand, agricultural land is a valuable resource, and it's often under pressure for non-agricultural uses. So, similarly, keeping ARUs close to the principal dwelling is especially important as it reduces the expectation that they can be severed in the future, reduces impact on rural infrastructure, and reduces the likelihood of having a new sensitive residential use, creating conflict with surrounding farm operations. And lastly, it continues to be critical to meet provincial requirements for MDS and protection from flooding to ensure people and property remain safe and rural residential land uses are compatible with surrounding agricultural operations. With all that said, we recognize that every application's merit is evaluated on a site-by-site basis, and making decisions that balance these planning priorities and principles and constituents' needs and desires is a difficult task. However, where ARUs are unable to meet requirements for compatibility or safety, or don't meet the intent of size and locational requirements, we would suggest alternative locations or designs be explored and considered, recognizing that ARUs are permitted in a range of built forms, including inside and attached to the dwelling. Next slide, please. To get additional information to help explain this data that we've shared, we also consulted planners and staff on a preliminary basis to learn about their experiences and implementation and reviewed what other comparable municipalities are doing for ARUs. And all of this research together helped inform potential changes to the bylaw that we're presenting today. So first, we looked at regulating scale through size and lot coverage. So one proposed approach we recommend is shifting away from gross floor area to regulate the size of ARUs and the lot coverage of accessory structures. We learned that gross floor area has been implemented inconsistently across municipalities, and there may be better ways to regulate an ARU scale. Because gross floor area is used by other land uses beyond ARUs, the proposed changes are only intended to affect ARUs and residential accessory structures. So to achieve this, first we propose to limit an ARU's size through its habitable floor area. And then this approach is used by other municipalities, and we believe having a distinct concept will be easier to understand and implement. We also propose to use ground floor area, or the footprint of a building, to calculate lot coverage. And this would focus on managing on-site stormwater and landscaped open space instead of floor area for potentially multiple stories of a building. And again, this would affect detached ARUs and accessory structures, while other measures such as setback and height would continue to apply. With regard to definitions, we're proposing to add definitions for distance from, detached ARU, and principal dwelling. Defining distance from and detached ARU are intended to be minor amendments to make existing requirements easier to calculate or improve the overall precision by distinguishing between the ARU types. Whereas amending definition to principal dwelling would clarify that the addition of an ARU does not change the principal dwelling into another type of dwelling. And as noted earlier, this is motivated by the research results that shows swaps are relatively common in the rural area, but to be clear, this change is not intended to prohibit swaps. It's only to make the intent of proposals more explicit when they do occur. With regard to driveways, the official plan requires that all ARUs outside of a settlement must use the same driveway as the principal dwelling. Research and consultation with staff suggests that in addition to ARUs being located increasingly far from the principal dwelling, some are not sharing the same driveway. And without a bylaw provision, the official plan requirement is difficult to implement from a technical perspective. So we're proposing to add a provision just that reflects this requirement and makes that enforcement piece a little bit easier. With regard to the process to facilitate detached ARUs, so currently, the official plan requires a minor variance to permit an ARU within a detached accessory structure and establishes limits to the maximum number of detached ARUs per lot. So we're proposing a change just for this requirement to be made clearer, this existing requirement. We're also proposing to state where planning approval is required and specify the maximum number of detached ARUs depending on the zone category. So again, the intent is just to improve the clarity of the bylaw. With regard to legislative changes on the provincial level, so changes through Bill 185 now requires that for fully serviced settlement areas, a lot containing an ARU may not be required to have a more restrictive minimum lot area for an ARU, and that municipalities must permit a maximum of 45% lot coverage for all buildings and structures on a lot where an ARU is established. So again, that's for fully serviced settlement areas. Although most planning applications are happening in the agricultural reserve, we propose to amend these requirements for the R1 to R3, the CC, and the V zones in service settlement areas to ensure that the bylaw clearly conforms to these updated provincial requirements. And then lastly, with regard to technical changes, we found some opportunities to enhance, again, the bylaw's clarity and consistency through some minor amendments. So some examples would include stating existing official plan requirements with regard to garden suites, changing undefined terms to defined terms where appropriate, and removing duplication between the bylaw and the building code with respect to minimum dwelling size. Ongoing feedback from township staff and simultaneous zoning bylaw consolidation work will inform what other changes will improve overall implementation. Next slide, please. Thanks. In terms of next steps, county staff are looking to receive initial feedback as well as a resolution from council to initiate these zoning bylaw amendments. Provided the request to initiate is approved, further research, drafting provisions, and consultation with area municipal staff and council will continue. I'd like to thank you all for your time today and extend my thanks to the township staff for their ongoing assistance during the preliminary review. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for questions. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? I have one. I have a couple here, actually. So for an AR, because right now the way it is, I can't remember, is the lots have to be 1 point some acres, I think, is that right? If I remember rightly, maybe Dustin?
Yeah, they have to be 1.48 acres if
Yeah.
there's only municipal water available.
Okay, because we don't have, I can't think of a single lot in any of our villages here, and I'm presuming that's very similar to outside of here where inside a service village we would have that.
To be clear, it's only in unserviced villages,
Okay.
1.48 acres in Princeton and in
Yep.
Wright.
So what's the service village ARU size?
So right now the issue in Blandford-Blenheim for your service villages, Drumbo and Plattsville, no ARUs period are currently
That's right.
permitted, and that's because of the existing servicing constraints
Okay.
in Plattsville and Drumbo.
Okay, but if we had, so say we did have services for those, I just want to make sure I clarify. I thought I heard you say that we're allowed 45% lot coverage if we have services. Is that, just so I'm correct on it? Okay, so that's new. That's going to be new, right?
Thank you. Through you to answer your question, it is new in the sense it's been recently implemented, but it is in force and effect.
Yeah.
So provided that there is servicing capacity in those urban residential parcels of land, to borrow language from the Planning Act, then
Yeah.
yes, that would be something that would be applicable.
Okay, okay. Anything else from council at all? Councillor Banbury?
Yeah, I'm not just 100% clear on, we have a lot of agricultural operations in this township that depend on offshore labor moving in for a certain portion of the year. They have bunkhouses, so-called, for people to live in. How does that jive with, like, say the landowner wanted to put up an ARU or establish an ARU? Is there any conflict there? Don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just kind of curious as to how that works.
Sure. So through the chair to response, my understanding is no inherent conflict between permitting the use of an ARU and permitting the use of a bunkhouse. The PPS directs certain permissions for ARUs on agricultural lots in prime agricultural areas. So to be brief, I don't see that there's an inherent conflict. Anything to add with that?
Yeah, I mean, the bunkhouses are considered part of the agricultural use, so, yeah, they're separate parts. The areas don't affect
Okay.
the ability to create those.
Yeah. Any other questions from council? Maybe to just kind of make a little comment. I know for most of the ones out here, trying to think, I don't think we've had a single ARU in residence that I can think of off the top of my head. I can't think of any. All of ours have been a standalone structure. And I think sometimes the hardest part is when it comes to, and I get, when Dustin presents a negative report or whatever, which he has to because of the bylaw, but I find the hardest part for some of ours is actually getting it within that distance, especially in some of it, whether it's, extra structured barns, drive sheds, weeping bed tiles or whatever. And, that's what I find our biggest problem is trying to get those here is mostly inside that distance. Some of the size ones, I think a couple times maybe we were stretching our boundaries a little bit. Dustin's probably nodding his head back there. The size-wise, but I think for me, the hardest part has been trying to find that actual spot inside that distance from that house that makes sense. I would think that's just my kind of comment on that. But some of this clarity now, I think it's going to make maybe some of our decisions a little bit easier too, and some of the rules have changed as it goes on. So, anything else from council? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CP 2025-252 be received as information, and further, that Blandford-Blenheim Council directs staff to proceed with initiating amendments to the township zoning bylaw under Section 34 of the Planning Act to support improving the implementation of the additional residential dwelling unit policies within Oxford County official plan.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? I know I made a bunch, but any comments? No? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and our next staff report is Drew Davidson, Director of Protective Services. Welcome, Drew.
Afternoon, Council, Mr. Mayor. Here to present my monthly report for the month of July.
Thank you.
Trust that you took some time to take a look through it. Camp 85, I'll have a follow-up report for Council at a future date. The tender, as you know, we worked on and released there for Station 81, so that's, Council was well aware of that. Apparatus testing, so any apparatus that had an onboard pump it has to have an annual test, which we were able to get through quite successfully. And every 2 years our ladders are to be inspected, and that happened as well this year. So with just some minor modifications, everything went quite well there. But one of the big items that, just for some clarity, some questions that we fielded over July and August during the hot months was burn permits and was there a fire ban? So just to kind of touch on those for a few minutes here, when somebody takes out a burn permit for a pile of brush or so have in the agricultural area, they're basically saying they will follow our burn bylaw, which in there says that if there is an alert from Environment Canada, whether it's smog, heat, severe weather, that they are not allowed to burn. We don't have to contact and tell them that. They are not to burn at that point. All the other times they're allowed to. You can have a campfire in your property as long as you are away from your building and have it in the 2x2 area like that. So then the question came up, well, what about a burn ban? So a burn ban basically is for campfires because the bigger stuff is covered under right in our bylaw right there. A burn ban would eliminate all that. And the question was, well, how would we know if that came about? How would the residents know? Basically, and as we have listed on here, we have the new signs that we release. We would let council know as well as all township staff. And then we have social media to get the word out too. And we don't just make that up. We follow the wildland fire information site there. We talk to our partners, other municipalities, what they're looking at. And it's not just on a whim that we do this. We watch it every day, and especially in those drier areas. So just want a little bit of background of where that comes from, why we didn't implement it, and if we were going to, how we would go about it. So I just wanted to bring that up to everyone's attention there. And then a couple upcoming events. We do have the farm show, again, that's coming up next week. And once again, Blandford-Blenheim will be there on the Tuesday, so on the 9th is when staff will be there along with the majority of our firefighters to man the tent there, fire prevention, and we also provide protection for the actual event itself. We will have one of our pumpers there on the Tuesday as well. And we're getting prepared for the fall fair that's coming up as well. So that's what's happening in our department for the month of July.
Okay, any questions from council? Councilor Demers.
Drew, the comments that you just made about the burn permits and fire bans are excellent information, and the way you presented it in plain language was really, really helpful. I'm wondering if that's something that, I mean, we've been doing a great job lately of posting stuff on social media and just providing, have you already done this? You're smiling at me. No, I was just thinking this might be a great topic to push out on social media. It's just this plain language explanation to folks about burn permits and fire bans, because I get questions about it. I'm sure others do too, and I think it's just a good way to disseminate very practical information. So it's just a thought.
I think where some of that started, I think it was Zora and somebody else put a fire ban on, and that's when I think that's when it kind of pushed that envelope for, is it coming here kind of thing, right?
Yeah, as I say, a lot of times municipalities will talk to each other before they do that. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, because usually we all do it at the same time. That's what I was waiting for ours to come as well, because when I saw theirs, usually it's like bang, 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 right? So, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions from council? No? Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report FC 2512 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Damerst. Any comments? I just got a couple. First of all, I know we've said it a few times here, but I've had several more comments on the signs that are at the fire halls, how professional they look and how good they look. I've had a few. I don't know if some other councils have it as well. Farm show. I'll see you on the 9th. I'm cooking burgers in the Lions tent. If you want to come there, maybe you don't now that you know that I'm cooking. And I'll see you at the Drumbo Fair as well. And just one other comment. Not sure whether I should say it here, but I'm going to. The Paris Fire Hall, the new tender come out, and our fire hall is for about the same size, roughly half the cost. So I think we did a good job on that fire hall. So thank you very much on that. Okay, all in favor? And opposed if any, and that's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, Ray, our Chief Building Official. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council. If I may, just a summary of the building services activity for the month of August. Another busy month. We put out 16 permits, a lot of residential permits. Hopefully we can end the year on a stronger note than we did at the beginning of the year. And of course, if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Any questions from council? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CBO 2507 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next report is Jim Borton, Director of Public Works. Welcome, Jim.
Afternoon, Council. It's my monthly report for August. So the Princeton Ponds, we've been moving fill. We're still looking for places to take it, but we've got quite a few on our list that we've been hauling to, so that's a good sign. With the construction moving to the south phase, we'll be concentrating on the pile that'll be at on Gissing Street. So we'll start to see some action on those piles as well.
Okay.
The Princeton Phase 4, as I mentioned, most of the underground work is completed on Main Street from Emma North, as well as the side streets, Emma, Railway, Victoria, Elgin, and Church. So there's just the south section from Emma to Highway 2 to be completed, which they will be starting Monday on the 8th. So that's good. We're probably about a week behind schedule where we had hoped to be, but we're still projecting a mid-October completion date. Bridge 24, this is the EA study that we've been working on. The study is complete. The archaeological study is completed. We have sent that to the Indigenous partners as well as DFO, and we're working through the comments as they come back. DFO has made some comments of some endangered species within the Nith River that we'll need to look at. So we are in the process of doing that. Road resurfacing and the gravel conversion. Walker Industries, who had the contract this year, has Oxford Waterloo completed for the fiber mat, part of Canning. They will be back later on in September to complete that work. And Blandford Road, as well as the section of Oxford Waterloo in Wilmot Township, has been converted from gravel to hard surfacing. As far as our service sharing, through the summer, that all gets put on hold just with vacations. It's very hard to get people together. That will be starting again in September, as well as our association and AORs as well. We have our September fall meeting coming up. Drainage. There is a rural municipal group that is just getting started as for drainage, looking at pond cleaning, documenting, stuff like that. So Adam will be a part of that. Hopefully make sure that we're all kind of on the same page, and if somebody's doing something better rather than us individually doing it, we can look at doing it as a group. Public Works staff has been very busy. Obviously, we prepped Blandford Road for the conversion. We've been removing some high shoulders. We are doing some grading, grass cutting, tree trimming, all the regular stuff. ExploreNet is busy in the township. I'm sure everybody has seen them on the roads and holes, so they've been making lots of messes, and we've been chasing them to get them cleaned up. Again, that is a provincial mandate, and they do have until the end of the year to get that completed, so they still have quite a bit of work to do before the end of the year. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Just have a couple. The final paving, are we still planning on that in Princeton this year, or are you leaning a bit more towards next year?
We're leaning a little more towards next year. We'll see how the south end goes, kind of timeline. We don't want to leave it too late in October.
Yeah.
If it gets later in October, we'll be looking at doing the top coat in 2026.
Okay. And I meant to ask you, I know I think it's called a flailing machine, the one that cuts the grass. Am I pronouncing?
Yes.
Okay. I know when we were at the
Trade show?
yes, that. When we were there, I know we talked about it, and I know they brought it out for us to try. Mm-hmm. I was just curious, how did it work?
It works really well. It's a wider cut. So the head that we have now is a 5-foot head.
Yeah.
This is an 8-foot head, so it makes it a much deeper cut. A lot of roads we have to go back and do a second pass on. With that head, we do not. And it's designed to work at higher speeds, so we're able to maintain a 10 to 15 kilometer an hour speed along, so it actually reduces the time that we're actually cutting.
Right.
So you will see something in the 2026 budget.
I figured that. I just was curious. I know we had it for, I think, what, 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah. I tried to get out. I was away on holidays. I wanted to get out to actually see it running, but I did ask a couple of the fellows when I met about outside how it worked, and they were very impressed with it. So
Yes.
okay, that's it for me. Anything else? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report PW 2515 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder, please? moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Demarest. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Okay, and next up is Trevor Rivera, Manager, Community Services, with the monthly report. Welcome, Trevor.
Nope. Just here to do the Community Services Monthly Report and the OTF report too today. We'll start with the Community Services Monthly Report. At the arena, we've been working hard to get the ice in. We turned the compressors on the 28th of August. The projected date for the ice will be September 13th for regular groups. Things are going really well there so far. In our parks, we had the Harvest Carnival and we had the U11 provincial tournament in the Princeton Park over the month of August. Both events were pretty successful, and parks have been busy with splash pads throughout August too, with the weather like it was very hot. We are working with the contractors to complete warranty work in the Princeton Park. They're waiting for repairs for the material to come in. They're waiting for material to come in for the Princeton Park, and the Plattsville Playground is also under review, and they're waiting for a few inspections to come in through there to do some work there. So just make sure they're doing the right things. We're just trying to make the park safe. They're closed right now. Plattsville has 3 pieces closed. Princeton is shut down right now. And they're waiting for material in Princeton, and in Plattsville they're still working with, they're reviewing the underlay and seeing where we're at with that. So, Princeton Cemetery had its annual Decoration Day on August 17th. Event was well attended. It was a good community gathering and reflecting and honoring of loved ones, and a good social event for a lot of people in the cemetery. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2514 be received as information.
And a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? We just had a few comments about the cemeteries, how good our cemeteries look, and they really do look well. Do a good job on them.
Pass that on to the staff too.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, and next one.
Next report is just about the OTF funding. Applied for OTF funding back in March 5th for the Drumbo Playground to make it accessible with accessible flooring and more accessible features throughout the playground. We were awarded the grant through OTF. Drumbo Lions also committed some money towards this project, and we put some money in the budget for this project. So OTF, their Ontario Trillium funding. So we got some funding we got $200,000 from them. Drumbo Lions is going to donate $35,000, and the township has $16,000 in the budget for this project for this year. It might turn into next year. We're going to meet with the Drumbo Lions in September here. We're going to put our RFP out for the project. It'll probably turn into next year. We do have 12 months from September the 10th to complete this project. We just signed the OTF contract about a week and a half ago. So staff are working together to get this project completed, and we'll work in-house and we'll work with OTF, and we'll put an RFP out for it, and we'll work with the Drumbo Lions as well to complete a project in our park. And yes.
Okay. Any questions at all? Do you know if we're, I know it's maybe early yet, but are we still planning on doing the same kind of thing with the Drumbo Park as the other 2 parks that are done, like the same material? Or?
At this time, we'll see what the tenders come back at and the prices come back at, and see what we can all do. There's lots of materials out there that we can look at. So.
Okay.
But it'll be, so the idea is flooring, some accessible equipment, and maybe remove some older ones that were in there.
Yeah.
See what and see what everybody says about when the playground people come out and they'll have a look at it. Playground companies come out, they have a look at things, and they recommend things to us. So.
Okay.
But we'll be working with the Drumbo Lions on that too as well.
Okay. Anything else from council? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2515 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demarest, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next report is from Denise, Director of Finance. Welcome, Denise.
So the report is in regards to the debenture for the Princeton drainage system. So as budgeted, we are planning to debenture $1 million of the project that is being completed in 2025. That was approved in the budget for this year. In the past, the township has had to pass a bylaw authorizing the county to submit an application to the OILC. However, after submitting this report and the bylaw, I was informed by the county that the lower tier is no longer required to do that. So this is just for information. We are no longer required to pass a bylaw authorizing the submission of the application. It is approved as part of our budget process that it's going to be debentured, but we've already done that. So this is just for information.
Okay. Any comments, Council? Or questions, sorry. Just kind of curious, so with this, so I know they always come to Oxford County and we always approve it there, so will that?
County still has to approve the application.
That'll still be
yes.
coming through there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else from Council? Nope? Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report TR 2511 be received as information.
Okay, move in a second, please. Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, any reports from council members? Anybody have anything? Councillor Bambury, I was just curious how the Princeton,
Decoration Day service?
Yeah.
Yeah, it went off very well. I think the attendance was down just slightly, but it was kind of a little iffy on the weather that
Yeah.
day. Some places was even a bit of showering, but we had really nice weather, except it was terribly windy.
yeah,
Thank God for paper clips that held the notes on the lectern.
Yeah.
But anyway, other than that, it went off really well. There was
Okay.
certainly a respectable, good number of people, but I don't think quite as many as last year. But that's, good. It's good. And the cemetery did look excellent. A lot of people come and drop off flowers, but don't necessarily attend the service,
Yeah.
so. A lot of people had done that in the morning and hope for the best with the weather, but weren't there in person. It was a good service. Everybody helped out and participated, and Trevor, he did a great job. He always does a great job on the cemetery, so appreciate that.
I was out a couple days during the week cleaning up my mom and dad's site, and it was nonstop traffic coming through of people cleaning and decorating up their areas. So it's nice to see the areas with a lot of flowers and stuff. It was really good. So, anything else from Council? Councillor Barnes.
Drumbo District Heritage Society is having their 30-year anniversary, September the 7th, from 1 to 4 at the Agricultural Hall. So if anybody would like to come, there'll be refreshments and cookies and stuff like that.
Yep. And I think the speaking is at 2, I believe. Yep. Anything else? Can't think of anything that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Unfinished business, notice of motion, new business, closed session.
Be it hereby resolved that council move into closed session under the authority of Section 239 of the Municipal Act at 4:43 PM to discuss A, CS 2516, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations, Section 239-2K, regarding partnership agreement negotiations.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? Guess not. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. And we'll just wait to get into closed session.
Be it hereby resolved that council does now adjourn from closed session and resume into open session at 5:01 PM and reports the following: that council provided direction to the CAO regarding report CS 2516.
Okay, mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Banbury, second by Councilor Demarest. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and now we're into bylaws. So on your sheet, that bylaw 6A isn't going to be there. It'll be 6B and C in your. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time. A, bylaw 2511, 2025, being a bylaw to authorize the use of internet voting for municipal elections in the Township of Blandford-Blenheim. And B, bylaw 2512, 2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Barnes, second by Councilor Young. Any comments? Oh, all in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved the following bylaws be now read a third and final time. A, bylaw 2511, 2025, being a bylaw to authorize the use of internet voting for municipal elections in the Township of Blandford-Blenheim. And B, bylaw 2512, 2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Demarest, second by Councilor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Anything under other? And adjourned. Just before we go to the adjourn, are you going to have a resolution to open, like for our, for this thing we're having later on? Do we have to do that? Like I know we had for other town hall meetings.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just the way that it's structured this evening, we weren't concerned about having that.
Okay.
Really won't be materially advancing the business of council.
Okay, perfect. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Be it hereby resolved that business before council being completed at 5:03 PM. Be it resolved that council adjourn to meet again on Wednesday, September 17th at 4 PM.
Okay, can I move a seconder? Moved by Councilor Young, seconded by Councilor Barnes. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you, Council. And thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Get him?